Hello, everybody. Welcome again. This is Dr. Karen, and as always, I'm just excited to have you. Happy 2025. We are in the beginning, or it's the third month of a new year, but the beginning of the season for me to do some interviews, and I am so blessed to be doing it. I have a friend of mine's and brother on with me today that was a great part of everything I'm doing now. And he had to be the first person that I featured on these interviews. So I want to introduce you today to Mr. John McClung. How are you?
What's going on, my sister?
Listen,
Wait, before you
oh, okay.
even say anything, first of all, to be able to be with you after, do you know it's 16 years
Yeah.
that you and I first sat down before podcasts and all of that was even
Yes.
a something, and we
Yes.
figured it out and started.
And you
And
know the thing, yes, 16 years.
16 years.
16
Wow.
years. And I was going to, because that's what I want to say is John was the person that I shared that vision with. And he said he helped me after someone else said they would help me, and they still haven't helped me today. 16 years later, they haven't said nothing about it. But it means a lot to have someone really do what they said. And John and I were hosting these podcasts. We had celebrity guests, all kinds of things going on, and people had no idea where we were or what we had to do to make it happen. But I am forever grateful to God for you walking into my life. I know you came to talk to me about something else. You came to
Hmm.
talk to me about a business plan or a
Yeah.
proposal. And we worked on that too. But now we ended up having a podcast, and it was called Conversation with Karen. And it's still going to go. It's just so much going on, John, but I am so appreciative of you being here. And he is a mental health coach. He is a chaplain, as you see, and just a all around great brother. I want to tell you something, John, that
Okay.
a lot of people know or don't know. Today is the day, March 5th in 2020, that I was flown, airlifted to Henry Ford Hospital in Detroit to begin a 3-month miracle time with God where I was in a coma. It was today.
Wow.
And now this is another part of my testimony. And you know how you can say, how much more? You know, I have a book. I'm talking
Yeah.
about alcoholism. I'm talking about drugs, rape, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And then here we are with this. And my friend who lives in Atlanta told me, your testimony never goes dry. God always gives you something to talk about, you know? So today I want to talk to you about testimonies. John has a business. It's called I Am a Testimony. I want you to talk about that business and talk about where that came from in your spirit.
So, what a segue from the opportunity of knowing your circumstance, because I think I got a chance to talk to you once as that was going through. And it's interesting, sis, because the year we started that online, because mind you, video wasn't in play yet from a
Right.
standpoint of the podcast, and we were online, radio style. And I remember the time you asked me to be your co-host, right?
Mm.
Right in the room when I was when I was helping you out, we just made it happen. But at the end, I don't know if you remember this. I used to say I am a testimony. So at that same time, I was going through a major, I think, major divorce at that time. Whereas
Okay.
I know it was rocky when we were getting together because I needed to be where you were, and that was a perfect way to actually kind of heal when we were doing our podcast, having fun, making it happen. And then at
Wow.
the end, for me, I would say I am a testimony. And then a year and a half, almost a year and a half later, 2010, maybe 2000. I know the business started in 2011, but in 2010, the Lord just laid it in my spirit. You do know that that's your business now. And I'm like, no, what are you talking about? You
Yeah.
that's your business now. And
Yeah.
so in May of 2011, I started I Am a Testimony Apparel. I didn't know a thing about printing T-shirts and all of that. A couple of young ladies who were just starting out with doing Greek stuff. We got together and started working together. And I since 2011, I've been building this brand to where it is today. It's been worn all over the world. It hasn't gone to where, from a standpoint of where it is really going to go. I don't know if the Lord is holding my reins back because it's going to explode, but all
Mhm.
the things that when I started, this, I just had a T-shirt. That's all
Yeah.
I had was a
Yeah.
T-shirt, one maybe two designs, and so now I custom design from the ground to the crown. I've done things with this brand I never thought I would be able to do. I've learned some things. I've done fashion shows, and all because you gave me the opportunity to sit next to you after coming from under that desk, getting it all together and hooked up
Mm-hmm.
to be your co-host. And it has never been the same since. I'll be honest, it has never been the same since. And I've done at least three different podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
I've done a series for 5 years called Spiritual Message Moments. I'm currently doing one online called Breaking Biblical Bread, and all of that has come from conversations with Karen.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And it's a blessing to know. And the thing is we stepped out into something. I stepped into something. I don't even remember how I even saw it. I remember who I asked, but I don't even remember. Well, I had a radio. My background was radio. So I was working with the school districts at that time, but I had a real yearning to want to get my voice back out there. And I had years of radio. I was a club DJ. I don't tell anybody my name from the club because someone always says, "Oh, I saw you." I saw you. But I really want to do that again. And I can say that when you were talking to me, I said, "Yeah, you got a radio voice. You have a
Yeah.
radio voice." And that's something I tell people all the time. You got a radio voice. You need to do something
Mm.
with that. And you came in, guys, he came in, and we were at a place that we had to, if it was a power outage or anything, things going on, John would be putting wires together, doing things, and I'll be telling people we'll be right back. It was all kinds of stuff going on. And we were blessed to really create and interview some people who are doing major things now that at that time they were just starting. We had an opportunity to interview the late Tommy Ford,
Yep.
and that was a
My
wonderful
man.
night with Shara
Yep.
Monday, his brand ambassador. He was her brand ambassador. We just had some great times. But
Yes.
John, let me ask you this, especially as a chaplain, and not just because of that, because I know how you are.
Mhm.
How important is it for people to understand the power of their testimony?
So I think one way to actually prepare or provide an understanding is actually the definition, and that
Mm-hmm.
is a person or individual who has gone through either a personal or spiritual situation or challenge that they've come through, and they're able to share with others. The importance is you have an opportunity with your story based on the things that have happened to you on your experiences that allows you to identify with the individual that you will be serving with your voice. I don't think people understand how much their voice is significant. And the more they begin to get comfortable with what they've gone through
Mm-hmm.
and know that what they've gone through plays a major impact on other people's lives,
Mm-hmm.
then I think then you can grasp like my story is significant or who I am is important because this is what's so mind-blowing about the brand. Everybody can wear it. It's so uncomfortable to know that anybody that has a story can wear this. And the reason I say it's uncomfortable is because most people don't know the story that's in them. And
Yes, right.
if you're in the apparel, someone will come to you and say, "I like that shirt," or "What is your testimony?" And normally, you're not going to approach people and say, "Oh, my testimony. Oh, this happened to me." You're not going to do that,
Right.
but you
Right.
will when someone asks you, "Well, what is your testimony?" and you get a chance to share, and what you share will bless them, and then they'll say, "Oh, I got a testimony too," and they get a chance to bless
Mhm.
you, and that's the whole idea of the brand is that it gives you opportunity to bless people with what the Lord has brought you through.
Yeah. And the thing I found, and that's good, the thing I found is a lot of people don't understand the power of their story. And I have taught in workshops, I talk to individuals and say, I'm telling you what happened to me. And that doesn't mean your story is not important. It's just what happened to me. And everything I've gone through, I should not have survived, but I have. So that is the reason why I have to tell my story. Someone else may have gone through, we were talking about a divorce. Some people
Mm-hmm.
feel like they've gone through this loss in their life and there's nothing on the other side. Some people don't know what to do if they lost someone literally in their life, if they had a time where they lost all their merchandise, all their wealth, everything was taken away from them from losing a job. Everybody has a story. And if you try to say you don't, it's time to just really think and look
Yeah.
and review your life. Every
Yeah.
day there's a testimony. And I had told my children, who of course are adults now, every day you should expect to have God give you something that you can share with someone else. Because if He wakes us up in the morning, then there's a purpose for us being here. And
Absolutely.
what is your purpose? So if you're at the grocery store and you see someone and you encourage them and you just feel in your, like, women, I do this for women a lot because they always say women don't do it. I'll tell someone they look very nice, or tease them and say, "Oh, girl, I like that hair." And I remember I did that to someone one day, and she was definitely not the girl kind of girl, but she
Mm-hmm.
loved the fact that I did that. And she said, "Oh, really? Thank you," because she was looking so down.
Yeah.
But I knew she had just had her hair done, and so she told me what she was going through because I decided to give her a compliment. But people come up to people all the time and ask them questions and say, "You know what? I want to know, what do you think about so and so?" And then they say, "Why are people asking me these questions? I am not a counselor." But they know it's a story in you because God
Absolutely.
is leading them to you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Absolutely. I think it's interesting that as we're talking about this, the one of the most important parts of what the Lord takes us through is the ability to talk about what He has taken us through.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times we look at the negative part of it, right? Because we look at maybe shame or maybe disgrace or embarrassment. We don't want to verbalize it, and yet we're on the other side of it. To
Mm-hmm.
actually be able to look at that and say, "Oh, wait a second, I'm on this side now." Yeah, that could have been embarrassing. It could have been a
Mm-hmm.
disgrace, but those are things. Not only are those strengths to learn how to get over, which is another testimony. How did you get over embarrassment? How did you get over feeling disgrace or down? So you're still consistently building on the original story, all of the things that have happened to get you to the point where because we all know you either going into something, you in something, or you're coming out. And if you are coming out while you're in it, you're learning, and while you're coming out, you should be sharing. So you're
Okay,
learning and
you got
sharing
deep.
at the
You
same
got
time.
deep for a second. You got deep. Say that one more time. You can't go past that. Say that you're either in.
Listen, you're either into something, you're either getting ready to go in, you're already in it, or you're coming out of it. And the last two are the most important. It's
Boy,
just it's preparing you for the for what you learn and what you got to share. And so, you get a chance to look at three different phases of what has happened to you because
yeah.
you did go into it. So you got to look at, well, what how did I get into that? Or what happened
Mm,
in my life to make me go through this particular situation? And while I'm in it, man, what am I learning while I'm in it? Because it can be brutal inside in the middle of it. It can be brutal.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so, but when you get out, when the Lord brings you through it and you get a chance to look back, Karen, come on now. You
yeah,
get a chance to really share an amazing story.
yeah, absolutely. And I'm saying, okay, you're going to be deep. You're not going to go, you're not getting ready to get rid of that real quick. We want to know what that's about. So I
Yeah,
want to talk to you for a second, and it's still within you. You recently began your work with men and mental health. Am I correct?
that is correct. Yep. Men as well as youth. Yep.
Yes.
And
Okay.
youth.
Men and
Yep.
youth. Wonderful.
Hmm.
Okay. So let me ask you a question about men and mental
Hmm.
health. Why do you feel that it's so hard to have men be able to discuss their mental health challenges or even recognize that there's something going on?
Great question. Um, Two things. One, men in their youth, more or less, based on the circumstances, especially if they didn't have a male figure in their life, didn't learn about love. They didn't learn it from a figure that could actually share and show them how to actually go through phases to be able to get certain things out of you, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if the and it's a man, my father shared taught me and my brother this. It's generational, right? Especially for
Yeah.
men. So
Yes.
if you've never seen a man cry in your youth, you will not know how to cry. I saw my father cry. And it blew my mind that I'm actually watching my father in the pulpit cry because he cared for people so much. And so now I know as I'm watching him, it's okay to be a man and cry. Now, do we get that now? No. A lot of men, they didn't have anybody in their life to show them compassion,
Yeah.
empathy, emotion, the thinking capacity, decision making. So they've missed out on a lot of intricate pieces that will allow them to express themselves later in life. And
Mm-hmm.
now, because those things have never come out, other individuals are dealing with that fact. That's where, it used to be domestic violence. Now it's called intimate violence relationship. It's IVR now. And why is that? Because it's an intimate situation. You know the person, so it's intimate in some ways. And so I've watched men fall apart because they didn't know how to express themselves.
Okay.
And the other thing is vulnerability is a very difficult thing for men. And in the extension to that is if you are with someone that doesn't understand or know how to let you be vulnerable and accept it and give you positive energy and feedback back, it's not a safe space. And so men are struggling with safe spaces.
So being with someone you're saying like a significant other.
Significant other, yes,
Okay.
because of the men, we look for a safe response
Right.
so we can gradually, because it's going to be gradual, so we can gradually let our guard down. You
Right.
know, there is not one man, not one, and I know being a man of 60 years plus, I'm gonna tell you this: there's not one man that wouldn't want to fall in the arms of a woman that he loves or he's with, and
Mm-hmm.
have this amazing word spoken to you that just penetrates your heart. Every man wants it, but
Okay.
every woman don't know how to do it.
Wow. That's something. That's something. Especially hearing a man telling me this, because a lot of the things I've ever learned about how to deal with men, a man taught me. And it was either someone like you, a very good friend, my dad, and a lot of things I could say I should have listened and followed through with a few things, but getting to it really made a difference. And so, as a woman, would you say that we should let someone know? How do we let someone know you're safe with me? Do we just, I mean,
Mm.
is it what you say? Is it what you do? Is it both? What would be what you would say most men would look for? You said they want to fall into, be in our arms and be safe. But like say, I'm just meeting someone and we're
Mhm.
seeing each other for a while. How will I do that?
You could ask one question. What does love look like to you? Because see, fortunately, and I say this in every opportunity I get an interview, the greatest TV show I ever saw was my mother and father. That TV show was amazing. I saw, and I didn't have any sisters, but I saw what it looked like to treat a woman at the highest level, both natural and spiritual. I
Mm-hmm.
saw the response of what that does when the woman is treated like that, that
Mm-hmm.
support, the love, the caring, the compassion comes the opposite way, and then
Mm-hmm.
how that impacts the family, the seed that comes out of that particular relationship. And so that black and white show turned into full color as I got
Yeah.
older. Because I started to understand and I could see, and I knew that even if I did not have, and I learned some hard lessons, even if I didn't understand communication to its fullest, because I left home at 18. And so some of those things I had to learn on my own. But what I did know is I'm never going to put a hand on a woman that I'm with. I'm never going to
Mm-hmm.
cuss her out. I'm never
Mm-hmm.
going to talk down to her. I didn't see any of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, so to answer that question for a woman, ask that man in the beginning, what does love look like to you? Because the one he should see from a standpoint of a female what love look like is his mom.
Mm-hmm.
How she either was treated or the type of person she is. And then he should
Okay.
be able to duplicate that, right? Because no woman, I don't care what she's come out of, what she done, she wants to be treated and loved correctly in whatever way that is, verbally, physically, by the right kind of touches, encouragement. It needs to
Mm-hmm.
be duplicated. So I think that when women understand the the type of emotion that the man has when he answers that question, then she got to also look at the fact that, can I do that?
Okay.
Am
Okay.
I in place to show love not only to me first, to the level that will allow me to share that kind of love? Because if you
Yeah.
don't love you, whoop, man, we know some ladies that have just struggled with the fact of knowing how to love because they hadn't seen it either in some cases. If you never
Yeah.
had a man in your house, you don't know what it means to kind of like, especially if it's a situation where a man treated the daughters or in the wife in such a way that they know that they have a standard. A lot of
Yeah.
ladies had they were not fortunate to have the standard that they
Yeah.
can actually see it before it comes.
Right. Right. And then, and what you just said is good because if I ask that question, a woman asks that question, and the answer comes, your what you say next can make the huge difference. Because if they don't say a
Oh,
whole bunch, you can say, well, well, tell me, what is it that you're really looking for? You kind of got to lead them on, but you got to be ready for whatever the answer is. If he
yes, you
says,
do.
I have no idea what love looks like, then I'm going to say, well, you may want to go to the love store.
You need a book. Hey,
You
listen,
need a
I'll
book.
recommend one.
I'm going to send you a book. But yeah, I mean, and I know that's serious. That's serious because, a lot of women do not talk to their children as they grow up, or they don't see the example, and they don't know what's going on. My son, he cracks up at me all the time because I'll tell him that is not what you're going to do. Okay, when you go on a date, please don't let that happen. We crack up about it. But that's good, John. That's good.
Think about
Listen.
that. Think about that statement, Carrie. Before your next
Mm-hmm.
question, let me just share this.
Yeah.
I've known you a long time, and you have been the mother and semi man figure in some ways just from information because you're
Mm-hmm.
not because you can't do some certain things that or you can't say certain things that a man would. But think about what you just said. The first thing you just made a statement was son, don't do this from a woman's perspective,
Yes.
right? Because you know, as a woman, what the good and the bad. You've seen all of that, and
Yes.
have the experience. But you cannot say, son, from a man, let me show you what you should do. Make sure you go. Now you can say, I want to have the door open for me, but
Right.
a man would say, listen, son, make sure you open the door, or he'll pull him to the. He should be able to pull him to the side. Let me give you some insight,
Right.
because this is something that a woman will pay attention to, but you might miss it, but you want to make sure she see it. So it's
Right.
all of these street stuff. It's like book sense and street sense from a father because he's experienced it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then a woman can say, you know what I experienced? I remember with my dad or with my brother or whatever. So that's extremely important to hear that voice and male figure, whatever a mentor, coach, whatever it might be for a man,
Yeah.
for a young man to understand, man, here's some things that you need to know from a male perspective so that you can be ready to show it for a female's perspective.
Yes. And I can say that I pray about the right mentors to be around my son. It was my dad, our pastor, different men, different friends, different people, and they all could have conversations with him that
Hmm.
that was meaningful. And I can say, John, as a single mom, I gave my son the perspective of from going into junior high, high school. I told him, I said, what I want you to remember, I'm telling you this story. I was a fast girl in school, and I'm going to
Yeah,
tell you what's going to happen. And he's like laughing and all that. Called me on the phone one day from school saying, Mom, it happened.
it
I said,
came to life.
I told you it was.
Yeah,
But I
yeah,
wasn't afraid to share it with him. I did not want either one of my children to have a testimony like we're talking about of because of something that they didn't know about. I wanted to be the one to
right,
tell. So whatever your
exactly.
testimony, because my stuff was too far. I have shared on national TV. They said, "Why did you tell your children all this?" And I said, "Because I didn't want them to get it from anybody else." And
Hmm.
the life I was living, I didn't know even know that I would be alive to see them
Right,
grow up. And so I made sure
exactly.
I told both of them everything. And they would go to school and their teachers would say a question about drugs. And they would say, well, my mother said that when the cocaine coming out. But listen, I don't want you to have somebody out there giving you something and you don't know what it is.
And that perspective, because now you're talking about the impact is totally different.
It's totally different. Do not leave your drink at a table and you come back and drink it. Nope. I have a friend right now that was very charismatic, a great dancer, loved people, had all kinds of things always going on, left a drink at a table, went to the restroom or whatever, came back, and his life has never been the same. And that's been over 30 years ago. I don't even
Mm.
know if he's still alive, but he started walking the streets, just a homeless guy. And John, I am convinced that somebody that was jealous of him did it.
Oh, absolutely. You ain't even got to be convinced. You know that the mere fact people are always watching, and
Yeah.
and you're going to be in a particular place on several different occasions because you
Mm-hmm.
may frequent or like that place, and
Mm-hmm.
we never know who's watching. And there are many individuals who watch for the opportunity to allow the enemy to use them.
Yeah. I
It's a
mean, he
fact.
walked in a room and everybody would say his name, that kind of thing. A lot of fun,
Hmm.
everything. But he was around people he knew. So somebody did it. You know what, John? Listen, I don't know how many more interviews that we're going to end up doing, but we're going to do a million of them. Tell me, what was your last? You have another book, right? What's
Yeah,
your
my
latest book?
my my latest book was my Proverbs prayer, 31 Days of Spiritual Wisdom. That was year before last. Yeah, year before
Okay.
last.
And
Yeah,
tell me a little
yeah.
bit about it.
So 2 years ago, at every January, our church that I attend here in Decatur, Georgia, has a
Mm-hmm.
fast, right? So during the course of this fast, I asked the Lord, provide something for me to make an impact with during the course of this fast, or show me what you want me to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started reading Proverbs through for those 31 days, and laid in my spirit, this is your project. Create 31 prayers out of each one of the, a chapter. Take certain words, create a prayer, and develop a book that you can actually go through on a day-to-day basis with some other sayings in it, where people who may not be comfortable saying prayer because they think you got to say a long prayer and all.
Right.
No, these are simple enough, 4, 5, 6 lines of prayers that are impacted from wisdom words, from
Mm-hmm.
Proverbs with words of wisdom that are used. And so that was my last book, and I'm getting ready to do two more on something. But my prized possession is the book before that, which is called "Are You in the Right Garden? Recognizing Real Relationships."
Are you in the right garden? So what does that title mean?
So in relationship, most people do not know, Dr. Karen, that there's only two types of soil in the world that's ever existed: Mother Earth and the woman. And the woman, in most cases, doesn't understand that her soil is significant, and you just can't let anybody walk on the soil. And there's three
Listen,
different.
I'm going to hang up on you, okay? Everybody, thanks for coming. John.
Yeah, it's deep. It's deep. And I talk about three guys. I use three examples of men. And on the front of my cover, it shows the three individuals. One is a hunter, one is a gardener, and one is a farmer. Those are only three types of men in the world. And people, of course, you'll hear a lot of other things, but there's only three types of men in the world. There's a hunter who goes on the soil, Karen. He has no, he has nothing to do with the land. He don't have no
Okay.
ownership, nothing, right? He go
Mm-hmm.
on the land only to destroy what he's searching after, right? Going on
Mm-hmm.
the land to kill, and then when he does, he shows it off and then just leaves, right? Never has an investment on the soil. Then the gardener he can have an investment on the soil only if he chooses to, because he can look out his window and he can go in the backyard and create a garden, put a few things down, but he doesn't have to live off the garden. He can just walk away from it. So that's a seasonal guy. He'll come into your life, he'll plant, maybe 1 or 2 years or whatever, and then all of a sudden he tired of looking out the window, see weeds coming up in the relation, all so that's the gardener. But every woman needs a farmer. And a farmer is is the guy that does it season after season. Even when there's nothing seen on the soil, he working it, he tilling, he watering, he nurturing, all of those things until and season after season after season. I use this analogy when I was a kid. We used to go on vacation, drive. My parents used to drive us from California to Mississippi, and we pass all these farms. And the
Mm-hmm.
first time we pass them going to Mississippi, it's all dirt, but it's all uniform though.
Mm-hmm.
You could tell some work was still done regardless. And then we come back 2 weeks later and you start seeing stuff sprouting out. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the life of a farmer. What does he do? Even when there's nothing happening, he's still working on you. He talking to you, communicating, loving on you, encouraging you, supporting you, always taking care of the soil. And
I am totally. Go ahead.
that's why every woman need a farmer in their life.
I want. I want a farmer. I want a farmer. That is so divine. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. So
Yeah.
that's a whole nother interview that you don't.
Oh, another interview.
A whole nother interview. You should have never brought it up. I'm like, no, I'm hanging up on you. No, you did not
Yeah,
tell
that's
me
my baby
this.
right there.
That is wonderful.
Listen, hey, in the book itself, the Lord. Listen, my wife, at the time, I was thinking about dating her at the
Uh-huh.
time, and I was writing this book. I was 15 pages in, and the Lord
Okay.
just completely stopped me. Like
Mm-hmm.
you can't stop writing right now. You cannot write this book until you lived it. And I
Mm,
stopped it that day. I stopped it for a year and a half. I didn't even write. I dated my wife. Went through everything that I was getting ready to write about.
yeah.
She my wife. She's my wife now. Going on 5 years.
So what do you remember initially? where this revelation came to you to write this, or what you were, what were you thinking about or praying about? Where'd that come from?
So for me, the interesting thing was, based on my background as far as being a preacher's kid and all the things from a
Mm-hmm.
standpoint of that I went through, in most cases, I never saw failure in a marriage, right? So it was interesting reading, as I'm reading, I'm reading Genesis and I'm looking at this story and I'm like, wait a second. And the Holy Spirit just illuminated, like, people do not know, especially women, because this book is really, because I didn't have any sisters. This is the reason why I wrote this book. And they don't know how important their soil is. Because remember, Jesus talked about the sower and the type of soil he was throwing seed on until it got to good ground. So every scenario that he was throwing the seed on is the same type of individual as far as a woman who is dealing with certain things. There are women who got weeds in their life. There's got some got stony hearts. Some of them have, different things from a standpoint of that doesn't receive seed. And then finally, there's that one that has put some things together and has understood who she is, and the seed is receptive. And so she's good ground. And that's what, in this scenario, as I was, looking and going through, man, I'm telling you, when this book is so mind blowing from a standpoint of just the fact of knowing those two things, that there's only two type of soils in the world, and women do not know that they are soil. And think about how many think about how many women, when they look at their story, look at the fact of the type of individual they let walk on their soil.
This is the thing, John. You are not. How long ago was it? 16 years ago that we started this? You're not going to come in here today trying to be ultra deep with me. Okay. I am not accepting it. Oh my goodness. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness. That is just, that's beyond. That is so blessed. And it will truly, truly be something that we will talk about again. For
absolutely. Looking
now,
forward
sir.
to it.
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
for now. How can someone contact you to see your brand, if they want to order some shirts, some goods? Because he has a lot of things out there, and even your books. How would you like someone to contact you?
So, first of all, contact me by my name, John McClung Jr. And you can go, you can Google that name, it'll come up. Maybe somebody else's, but they won't look like me. And then, and I am a testimony apparel. You can look that up. My website is iamatestimonyapparel.com. Uh, social media is under I am a testimony, so you can look that up, or my name, and the Facebook as well. And if you do those two things, I am a testimony or John McClung Jr., you will find me.
Okay, and also find your books. You have your
Oh,
books.
book is on Amazon. You can pull my name up. You'll probably see some other names, but you'll see, man, matter of fact, you'll probably see maybe 11 or 12 books, because I'm actually in some other ones that I'm a collaborator in.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
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 but
yeah.
you'll see Are You in the Right Garden? That's for sure.
Yeah, I want the book about the weeds. Listen, that is
Yeah.
fascinating. I am so proud of you, and I'm so grateful to God for our continued connection. I thank you so much for being here. I said you had to be on the list first because you
I
got me
appreciate
going again. And when I thought about it today, I said, this is the best day for me to have my friend on here, because this is the day that is the beginning of another testimony in my life. I
Yeah,
am a
yeah.
testimony. And, you know, um, it's so much to the story, the whole miracle of it, John. So many people were touched while I was literally what we call napping for 3 months.
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
My children were praying for other people in the hospital when they were coming to see me. People were so taken by the fact that they had so much faith. They had praise and worship playing in my room in ICU. It got to the point that the nurses would come and say, "Oh, we put the music on for her and we got it." They were doing it on their own. And
Yeah.
they came down every day until they couldn't come because it happened right before the pandemic hit America. And so I woke up to the madness. I didn't know what was going on. But the thing is it's so many pieces of it, John,
Yeah.
that I'm going to get a story out there. And my book is almost finished, but it's so many pieces. And I tell people all the time, testimonies are layers. There's so many layers and layers and layers to no matter what the story is. And although they told my family that I was going to die, and they said if I lived, I would be a vegetable. I wouldn't be able to be the same. They said to them, my mother didn't come in this hospital a vegetable, and so she's not leaving one. Either she's going to go be with God,
Mm.
he's going to restore her. And that's where they stay. That's where they stay. But their stories of who they prayed for, I mean, it's just crazy stuff happened all the way through. And so I will share that with you another time, and we'll talk about it. And I may have you do the interview I need, for me.
Oh, you listen. That would be great because as you were speaking, one of the things that hit me was I got a chance to talk to you. I think right before, so I didn't know because of that time frame that you were gone, and then afterwards, you were
Yeah,
able to share and tell me about that, and
yeah,
so all of that time in between, which was going on, and it's miraculous to know where you're sitting right now.
yeah, yeah.
It is
I
what
have
it is.
I have a trademark with my war wound. I got a whole mark or whatever on my stomach. My kidneys weren't supposed to be still. I mean, it's so much.
Yeah.
And I'm absolutely, God is continuing to restore me daily. And I am working and doing the things that He told me to do. Okay, God, what do you want me to do? I can't ask why anymore has this happened to me because I wasn't getting an answer. But when I
Mm,
said, what do you want me to do? Then He told me. And so here we go. Here we go.
yeah.
I love you, sir.
I love you more.
Thank you so much for being on. And this has been Chaplain, Mr. Author, Creator, John McClung Jr. with me. And again, I'm Dr. Karen. And until next time, continue to be blessed richly and prosper in all you do. God bless. And